All right, welcome back to the podcast, Real to Real Sports Network, episode 2. I'm the Vegas Prophet, and I'm joined today by the Professor.
Hello, everybody. We got some breaking news today. So I got the FOIA documents that Sportico got, and I've reviewed those documents. And based on my expertise in equity financing, public financing, joint venture deals, I've been able to tease out several big items in this financing package. So I'm going to walk you through some of the big items in these FOIA documents. Now, you can get the documents that I had. You can see them for yourself at billfarley.substack.com. So you can get the documents yourself. I'm going to walk you through the article that I posted today. You can also get a link to that document on my X site at Bill Farley, PhD. You see that up there on the screen. So let's take a look. I lead off with a doctor checking on the nose mascot saying, "Did you say the pain is in your left arm?" Now, why do I have a doctor in this photo? Well, yesterday I mentioned we had a lot of heavily redacted material in the FOIA documents.
Okay,
and I passed over these documents, this particular slide, several times because you look at it and you say, okay, every single item is redacted. All it is hard construction costs. They can't even put a label like, I don't know, the name of the project. But if you look down at the bottom, it says Catalyst Healthcare Real Estate.
Interesting.
Okay, well, maybe they made a mistake. But then I look at another document that they send me, and it's KPMG Healthcare Strategy, confidential, do not distribute. There were 8 pages in this presentation. All of them were completely redacted. So you have 2 documents in the FOIA dump relating to medical activities. And this is where I'm drawing on my experience. I had an article published in the Journal of Urban Affairs last year on UC Davis's medical campus expansion and how they were financing student housing, innovation centers, nonprofits, all based on the value of the land associated with this medical center. So what can we draw from this? Well, it could very well be that Florida State is doing the same thing, that they are going to try to tie themselves, their football program and their athletic program, into the cash flow of their medical system. They have a medical school there, and look for that connection as the details are revealed. So medical system financing, maybe it's the land value, maybe it's in leasing office space, maybe it's in subsidizing the athletic buildings under the auspice of healthcare. Maybe there's going to be maybe they're going to rename something a wellness center so that it can be funded by the healthcare system. So look for this. That's number 1. Now, number 2, I went through the cash flow projections that they provided. Now, a lot of things are redacted. So you see here in the revenues, there could be one of these redacted items could be the healthcare system. But I looked for things that were that increased dramatically. So at the bottom, the second to the bottom there, you see conference distributions, $40 million this year, or 2022 actual, going to $78.9 million in 2026 estimated. So you've got a $38.3 million lift in their expectations for concert distributions. Now, this could be coming from college football playoff money, but more likely they're already assuming that they're in the Big Ten and they're cashing those big checks. And here's a spreadsheet that I think that gives you a clue that they're looking at an equity firm. The spreadsheet just focuses on new revenue, additional revenue growth. So they're looking at, like, under the gross revenue, you see DOC NR, that is Doak is their football facility. That's new revenue. They're projecting $4.5 million a year. Tucker is their community civic center. New revenue, $2.25 million. And then concert sponsorships out of the blue pops in. This is something we're seeing in the minor leagues where equity firms are buying minor league teams and really starting to utilize their facilities for concerts and multiple uses. So it looks here like they might be bringing in an equity partner that has some entertainment skills that are going to be starting to lease out the football stadium for concerts and other activities. At the top line, the third item line on this says a management fee, $500,000. That's also popping up out of nowhere. That's likely the management fee they're paying to the private equity firm to manage their these new revenue opportunities for them. So these are clues, and then there's other in the documents. You'll see a reference to waterfalls, which basically is private equity term for distribution. So you'd take this new revenue, and it would start to be distributed equally initially with the partners, and then the equity partner would likely get a bigger cut as they hit their threshold returns. But none of those details are in the documents right now. We're just seeing clues that a private equity firm has been proposing different revenue strategies and splits to FSU. Now here's the colors in all these spreadsheets are done by FSU. So we've got ticket sales, for example, away game ticket sales you see in 2026. It's going to go from 1 million to 1.26 million and 1.3 million. That could be because they're playing in a bigger conference with bigger games. They've got their basketball revenue jumping up from 1.8 to 3 million. Again, that could be them playing in a bigger league. So they've got a lot of blue sky revenue projections that they're starting to land on to see how they finance this exit fee. Because at the end of the day, they're looking for $400-500 million to exit the ACC, and they've got to find the cash flow in order to borrow it or sell part of their assets to an investor, and they need the revenue to pay back the equity investor or any debt. Then in terms of them turning over every rock. So this is a memo from August 3rd. They're already 8 months into the due diligence process. They've already scrubbed all the spreadsheets. And here they are talking about they need a call. And they say, Michael, I know JP Morgan, that's the advisor to FSU that's trying to work with these equity groups. I confirmed blank, able to be used for fixed capital outlay. Can you please confirm if they can also cover the other grounds and maintenance expenses? So now they're really in the weeds. They're really looking for small items. They probably already got the big things, and here at month 8, they're still working on little teeny revenue sources to try to make this work together. So I have, I don't think this private equity is going to be the panacea to solve all for their big nut. It may just be a way for the executives at the university to get onto good golf courses, get good tee times. There may not be much more to it than that. And finally, in June, the staff went to the university and updated their investment policy document. And item number 2 in the summary of changes say they updated the prudence and ethical standards language to include procedures that protect university staff if adverse credit or market events occur. So what they're doing here is they are signaling that they're going to start taking more risk with their investment funds. And this could be something that was a requirement of potential equity investors that wanted to be on par with the university, and the university to be in the boat with them taking the same amount of risk. But the staff don't want any accountability for that. So they've updated their investment policy. So that's what I've got. There are other documents that I have. There's another aspect to this financing that I'm working on that should be done by the end of the week, which I think will be the primary source for financing. But at this point, I don't believe the private equity piece is the solution. It may be $50 million, $100 million gap, private gap, but it's not the big one. And I'll have the details on the big one later this week.
Interesting. So that leads to a few questions. So first, how common is it for these numbers and the projections to be just grossly inflated? As far as terms of, revenue, expenses, how common is that?
Well, I can say from my personal experience, I worked on a project for the University of Nevada, Reno years ago when I was in the private sector working with a development partner, and we were negotiating a joint venture design build project for the University of Nevada, Reno. And my aspect of that was providing the cash flows on the revenues from this training facility and the debt requirements. And as I was working on it, I was only a year out of the public sector at the time, I told my partners, hey, this doesn't look good. And the reply was, doesn't matter. If they want it, they'll do it. And if it fails, they'll fix it. And the project failed, and they fixed it. And I've seen this in the corporate world as well, that people wanting to get promotions and wanting to have status will push forward a big project without the greatest financial underpinnings. And it's a career move. It's to make a big splash. And then if your company or your agency is big enough, you can cover up the damage created by it. Now here, this is a big deal. $500 million exit fee. That the entire state of Florida only has $700 million of revenue bonds outstanding right now. That is debt that is assigned to revenue projecting activity like sports facilities. So this is a big deal. This could be not only a president killer. This could wipe out an entire staff at the university if this project isn't handled well. So I think they'll be very cautious in using the private equity piece.
So so from that perspective, how robust would the private equity firm's due diligence be?
It's extremely. They are going through every detail. There's an email. There's a couple of the documents that were released were email chains of people just asking question after question after question. There's a due diligence checklist with probably 80 or 90 items that all relate to minutia on the revenues, the expenses, the restrictions to certain cash flow. Existing obligations. There is a lot of they are going through every single aspect, and it's taking them a long time. Usually, I wouldn't expect to see a letter of intent drag on this long. They started the beginning of 2023. Normally, a letter of intent, very general outline of responsibilities, should be done in a couple months, and then you fill in the details. They're still not there. They're still not in agreement on a term sheet. So I think they're struggling to try to make this thing work.
And then to follow up on that, what would you predict is or forecast as far as a timeline to finish the due diligence and to actually make these documents public without redaction? Or is that not something that would occur? I mean, will we ever be able to see all the numbers behind these documents or not?
Well, in the case of the case study that I did for UC Davis, the private equity partner / developer in that project protected their cash flow statements under the guise that it was proprietary, had proprietary information in it. I have no idea what that was. It might have been that they had some kind of joint venture incubator set up to where they would have tenants, and the tenants were paying partial rent and getting, but also providing some share of their company's stock in exchange for rent. I'm not sure what that could have been, but they've still not released theirs. So I think the private equity company could keep quite a bit of their stuff under an NDA, confidential. Not to say that a lawsuit couldn't free it up, but they'll definitely, I think the university will stand with them to block it from the public. Because I think this will be a small part of it, I think the bigger piece of this financing will be public, and I'll outline that in the next week or so.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, this was, excuse me, this was actually a lot more than I expected. You know, not to say that I don't expect much out of you, Professor, but
no,
this was, you know.
I think that this whole project Osceola has been, had a big splash initially, but really, I think the people first looking at the documents had not worked on joint ventures, had not worked on private equity deals, so they probably didn't see all the clues that I saw, all the angles that were being played here, even without the redactions. So with all those redactions, I could still fill in a lot of blanks. It's a little bit of a game like Jeopardy. You know, you got to guess at the letters, you got to guess at what's redacted, and putting that all together looks like a health system play, an entertainment center play, and then perhaps working with the licensing, but also counting on that big move to the Big Ten.
Well, I'll be curious to see how much traction you get on your Substack account, because I imagine there'll be a lot of people in the ACC, Big Ten, sports-related media professionals that will be interested to read this.
I think what I do on my Substacks, I provide all the documents that I get. So I don't report on something and refer to documents that people can't open up and look at themselves. So that's the one aspect of my Substack site where I get a lot of views because people want to actually see the documents. You know, I'm interpreting them, but others want to take a look at them as well. I also made another dump today, much less interesting. Do you want me to give you a quick view at that one?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see here. Let me go.
No, I can see a value to that. Just providing all the documents in the Substack and gives people path of least resistance. You know, if they don't want to go out and find the documents themselves or take the time to FOIA everything, it's right there, ready for them.
So the other post that I made today, as soon as I uploaded my article on Florida's FOIA documents, I finally got a response 5 months late from Cal on their application to the ACC and their conditioned approval to the ACC, and then the grant of rights. So I didn't see a lot of new things in the documents. People can read those 3 documents for themselves. What was missing that I've asked for is in their application to the ACC, there's reference to an attachment of their business terms that they want. I don't have that. All I have is what the ACC will provide to them. And the only thing that stuck out to me, there was one unique aspect. Let me see if I can get to. Okay. Let's see. I'll just, so this first section here just talks about what we already knew, that they were not going to get the full membership deal. They weren't going to get the full membership piece. But then this second paragraph, conference championships aggregated travel expenses for men and women's basketball and all Olympic sports under current ACC policy will be capped for Cal at the amount equal to the highest paying expenses paid to any of the 15 other current ACC members. So that what this means is that they know that Cal is traveling more, will have more travel expenses, and what they're saying is we're not going to reimburse you for those. We're going to only reimburse you for the most that our current members have. So if those current members have $5 million in travel expenses to conference championships and Cal has 7, they'll just get reimbursed for 5, not for the 7. So a bit of a stick in the eye there, I think, in the last moment of the deal making for them.
Now,
also,
can we assume that Stanford has probably the same or similar deal?
Yeah, I'd assume Stanford's got the same. We can't FOIA, we can't make public records requests to Stanford. So I'm assuming, as I assume with that USC's is the same as UCLA, I'm assuming Stanford is the same as Cal. They did sign for the grant of rights through 2036, so nothing new there. Again, what I really would like to see is what did they ask for compared to what they got. Because if they got, what we know what they got was they have to give up 67% of their revenue in the first 7 years, and then they get more. They have to give up 33% of it for a few years, and they finally get a full share in 10 years. Of course, the ACC may not even exist. But one thing I would note, the Big Ten gave all the Pac-12 schools coming to the Big Ten, they gave them, Oregon and Washington, the option to borrow against future revenue to pay for their additional travel expenses. And they also gave them an exit if the membership of the conference changed materially. So even though the Big Ten is very stable, maybe that's why they gave it to them, Cal and Stanford apparently don't have that provision. So if Florida State, Clemson, UNC pay the exit fee, they have no right to exit themselves. They're stuck. And I doubt that anybody else but Florida State can afford the exit fee. But if UNC were to pull the resources together, they could potentially leave. Virginia might be able to afford it. But other than that, I think it's going to be just everybody else is going to be left in kind of a second tier conference like the Big 12.
Well, this is going to be interesting to watch it unfold.
Yeah, I think I'll have another document dump here by the end of the week. That I think will complete the evaluation of Florida State's financial position and their strategy, and then we can sit back and wait. But it should be imminent. They should be pulling the trigger on a lot of pieces here in the next few weeks. And I think I'll have a pretty clear picture of what Florida State's going to do here in the next couple of days, and we'll let people know ahead of time. They'll be at least a week or two ahead of time. They'll know what's coming down the pike, based on my forensic accounting techniques that have been perfected over the last 3 decades.
Excellent. We'll look forward to the next episode. Until then, thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, and we will see you the next time. Adios.